the Bermuda Triangle emerges as a timeless shroud of enigma over the Atlantic, where sea and sky converge to erase traces of human passage in ways that defy full understanding. Bordered by Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, this vast 500,000 square mile realm has captured voyagers in its quiet grip since Christopher Columbus noted erratic compasses and ghostly lights in 1492. Centuries of tales from sailors describe serene waters turning chaotic, ships vanishing without cries, and instruments failing at pivotal moments. Coined in the mid-20th century by Vincent Gaddis's The Deadly Bermuda Triangle, it blends fact with legend, sustaining global intrigue. Reddit.com. Science offers grounded insights. Rogue waves from Gulf Stream currents rise over 100 feet to swallow vessels. Magnetic deviations sow disorientation. Methane bursts reduce buoyancy for swift sinkings. Human factors like fatigue amplify risks in this busy zone. Yet myths persist of electronic fogs, Atlantean echoes, or alien pulls merging reason with wonder. This interplay mirrors life's hidden depths for those who've lived long enough to ponder them. On WM, we uncover 7 key disappearances that forged the Triangle's legend, each layer inviting deeper reflection on nature's secrets and our quest for clarity. Within the dim archives of maritime chronicles, the USS Cyclops materializes as an imposing phantom. Its abrupt eclipse in March 1918, signifying one of the most staggering forfeitures etched into the Bermuda Triangle's chronicle. Classified as a Proteus-class collier, this leviathan of forged steel extended 542 feet in length and displaced upwards of 19,000 tons when fully burdened, functioning as an indispensable conduit for the United States Navy amid the throes of World War I, transporting vital consignments of coal and manganese ore, pivotal for the fabrication of armaments and infrastructure. Christened in 1910 at the storied Philadelphia Navy Yard, the Cyclops drew its appellation from the legendary one-eyed titans of Greek lore, an apt designation for a craft engineered to withstand the ocean's most ferocious tempests, bolstered by a fortified hull and formidable propulsion systems that promised reliability across vast expanses. Commanded by Lieutenant Commander George W. Worley, a veteran seafarer whose eccentricities, stemming from his German lineage and authoritarian demeanor, often stirred murmurs among the ranks, the ship embarked from Rio de Janeiro on February 16, 1918, groaning under the weight of 10,800 tons of manganese ore destined for Baltimore, Maryland. The manifest included 306 individuals, a dedicated crew, assorted passengers, and a handful of prisoners of war, collectively animating the vessel's labyrinthine decks with the rhythms of daily seafaring existence. The voyage unfolded without notable incident until an interlude in Barbados on March 3rd, during which portions of the cargo were offloaded and superficial maintenance addressed. Setting sail anew on March 4th, the Cyclops transmitted its concluding standard communique, affirming operational normalcy and projecting docking in Baltimore by March 13th. Thereafter, an impenetrable quiet descended upon the ship, akin to a curtain drawn across the stage of its narrative. No emergency beacons disrupted the wireless spectrum, no flotsam emerged upon distant shores, and the Navy's exhaustive reconnaissance, encompassing innumerable square miles of turbulent waters, unearthed naught. Neither a buoyant lifeboat, nor a fragment of riveted steel, nor the solemn remains of a single voyager. This utter obliteration rendered the episode the most grievous peacetime casualty in naval annals, a chasm that reverberated through formal tribunals and the collective psyche of a nation at war. Probes into the calamity unearthed a mosaic of conceivable triggers, delineating a scenario rife with latent peril. Inherent structural frailties afflicted the Cyclops, with documented fissures along its axial girders intensified by the ponderous ore shipment, which conceivably displaced during swells, precipitating a catastrophic breach in the hull's integrity. Worley's leadership elicited scrutiny, with undercurrents of insurrection fueled by crew discontent and anecdotes of his unconventional perambulations in scant attire. Conjectures of deliberate subversion arose, tethered to Worley's purported affinities for Germany during an epoch of geopolitical strife, or potential interception by adversarial U-boats, albeit devoid of corroborative proof. Ecological alignments with triangle hypotheses surfaced. Unanticipated gales might have subdued the encumbered craft, or subterranean methane expulsions could have undermined its stability, facilitating an expeditious plunge into the abyss. Notably, the Cyclops' sibling ships, Proteus and Nereus, succumbed to analogous destinies in 1941, evaporating within the identical vicinity while laden with bauxite, intimating a recurrent motif linked to freight volatility or clandestine aquatic energies. The enduring imprint of the Cyclops solidifies its status as a foundational pillar in Bermuda Triangle mythos, augmented by chroniclers such as Richard Weiner in his 1973 cinematic exposition, The Devil's Triangle, which dissected themes of rebellion and ethereal machinations. Even President Woodrow Wilson, in a moment of presidential candor, conceded that solely divine providence and the maritime expanse comprehended the vessel's fate. This obliteration accentuates the Triangle's prowess in devouring humanity's grandest edifices, bequeathing a hush that perpetuates endless conjecture. For those inclined to meditative musings on such sagas, the Cyclops embodies a sentinel of the submerged enigmas preserved by temporal veils, where mortal craftsmanship acquiesces to the ocean's inexhaustible allure. In extending this account, one discerns how historical minutiae, from crew dynamics to cargo specifics, enrich the tapestry, fostering a deeper immersion into the event's multifaceted layers. The Mary Celeste manifests as a spectral icon of desertion, its uncanny revelation in December 1872 intertwining with the Bermuda Triangle's lore, notwithstanding its locus marginally exterior to the delineated perimeter, a linkage forged via archetypes of unfathomable evacuation. Initially baptized as Amazon in 1861 within a Nova Scotian dockyard, this 103-foot brigantine endured rechristenings and overhauls, evolving into the Mary Celeste beneath American stewardship. A resilient craft tailored for oceanic commerce, it flaunted canvases that swelled with the breath of odysseys and compartments adept at conveying merchandise through tempestuous domains. On November 7, 1872, helmed by Captain Benjamin Briggs, a pious and proficient navigator, the vessel cast off from New York Harbor en route to Genoa, Italy, encumbered with 1,701 casks of rectified spirits. The complement encompassed Briggs, his spouse Sarah, their toddler daughter Sophia, and 7 veteran mariners, coalescing into an intimate seafaring kinship. Almost 4 weeks thence, on December 5th, the Dei Gratia, another brigantine steered by David Morehouse, an associate of Briggs, discerned the Mary Celeste meandering adrift proximate to the Azores, canvases incompletely hoisted and veering capriciously in the breeze. Intruding contingents ascertained the ship's navigability, cargo unscathed, and victuals sufficient for extended durations, yet bereft of animation. The skipper's chronicle's terminal inscription, dated November 25th, chronicled locale and meteorology sans intimations of distress, Intimate artifacts remained unperturbed. Repasts partially consumed upon the galley board. A tailoring apparatus halted mid-seam amidst Sarah's accoutrements, and tobacco implements retaining residual warmth as though freshly relinquished. The yawl's absence implied a precipitous exodus, yet no indicia of conflict or meteorological havoc blemished the planking. This immaculate tableau of suspension transmuted the craft into a wraith vessel, its muteness resounding with implications of instantaneous withdrawal. Reclamation adjudications in Gibraltar dissected the conundrum, with hypotheses proliferating akin to mist enshrouding the brine. Emanations from seeping spirit containers might have ignited apprehensions of detonation, instigating departure, solely for the ensemble to succumb in the yawl amid a gale. Whirlwinds or aberrant surges could have menaced the ship, engendering forsaking, albeit the logged serenity contests this premise. Extravagant suppositions summoned buccaneering, insurrection, or pecuniary deceit, yet substantiation endorsed none. Morehouse's cadre garnered reclamation entitlements absent aspersion. Affiliations to the Bermuda Triangle stem from analogous instances of unmanned crafts, such as those ensnared in the Sargasso Sea's verdant labyrinths, where stagnant expanses emulate scenarios of relinquishment. Belletristic augmentations, encompassing Arthur Conan Doyle's fabricated yarn, J. Habakkuk Jephson's statement, magnified the fable, amalgamating verity with whimsy to incorporate abyssal behemoths and transcendental influences. Contemporary dissections, exemplified by University College London's Dr. Andrea Sella's 2006 empirical trial, postulate that spirit vapor conflagrations might elucidate a discerned menace sans tangible impairment, harmonizing with pragmatic perspectives. Nonetheless, the Mary Celeste's assimilation into Triangle annals perseveres, as tomes and cinematographic expositions correlated to motifs of mortal effacement amidst unscathed hulls, arousing primordial trepidations of the ocean's whimsical temperament. For individuals who have braved existence's squalls, this chronicle mirrors the fragile partition betwixt harmony and turmoil, wherein a solitary instant can dissipate essence into perpetual vacancy, bequeathing crafts as tacit custodians of unrecounted destinies. Delving further, the interplay of personal histories, such as Briggs's familial bonds and maritime customs, enriches the narrative, inviting layered interpretations that sustain intrigue across eras. The Ellen Austen episode of 1881 materializes as a spine-tingling chronicle of sequential evaporations, ingraining itself within Bermuda Triangle folklore via its saga of a spectral craft that resisted reclamation and sequentially appropriated crews. This British schooner, a timber-constructed entity spanning roughly 210 feet and fashioned for intercontinental traversals, navigated from Liverpool to New York beneath Captain Griffin's oversight, conveying voyagers and freight through the enigmatic Sargasso Sea, a serene breadth inside the Triangle's purview, notorious for its dense algal veils that immobilize vessels akin to organic snares. In the heart of August, amidst mirror-smooth surfaces, the Ellen Austen confronted a forsaken schooner, meandering without aim, spars upright and structure resilient, yet barren of vitality's imprints. Absent an identifying placard, the Riddle's craft hinted at proximate desertion, with platforms immaculate and compartments conceivably brimming with prized lumber. Capitalizing on the salvage prospect, Captain Griffin deployed a contingent of adept seamen to commandeer and prepare the derelict for accompaniment. Preliminary surveys disclosed no blemishes or hints, quarters systematized, records non-existent, as if the primordial denizens had dematerialized during passage. The duo crafts progressed in concert for several rotations until an impulsive maelstrom disjoined them, gales screeching and billows agitating the brine into effervescence. Upon the tumult's subsidence after 48 hours, the Ellen Austin re-established a contact with the vessel. Yet dismay prevailed. The salvage ensemble had dissolved, vacating the ship anew, its canvases billowing like forsaken recollections. Resilient, albeit cautious, Griffin marshaled an alternate detachment, equipping them with firearms and pledging premiums. Yet another whirlwind interceded, and in their reconjunction, this latter cohort likewise had dissipated sans vestige, the craft wandering in isolation. Fables ornate the recounting, certain renditions asserting that the derelict collided with the Ellen Austin in a climactic gesture of rebellion ere its ultimate fade. Although doubters, such as contributors to the Skeptoid podcast, repudiate it as fabricated, ascribing genesis to Rupert Gould's 1944 tome devoid of foundational documents. Pragmatic elucidations direct toward meteorological occurrences. Illusions or vapor shrouds might imitate disunion, whilst crew hysterias from seclusion or delusions spawned by the Sargasso's uncanny quiescence could prompt autonomous forsaking. Occult conjectures summon wraith vessels or spatial distortions, synchronizing with triangle archetypes wherein beings disintegrate whilst frameworks persist. This twofold obliteration magnifies the triangle's notoriety as a pilferer of humankind, preserving hulls as mocking vestiges. Narratives in volumes akin to Charles Berlitz's The Bermuda Triangle sustain the legend, merging it with comparable wraith craft sagas to conjure an ambiance of cyclical malediction. For meditative intellects in subsequent epochs, the Ellen Austin personifies the brine's misleading tranquility, wherein prospect transmutes to hazard, and the frontier distinguishing recovery from forfeiture merges into a gulf of unresolved resonances, affirming that certain conundrums recapture their sentinels with unyielding finesse. Expanding this exposition, the Sargasso Sea's ecological peculiarities, including its biodiversity and historical entrapments of famed expeditions, furnish supplementary strata, enhancing the tale's immersive texture and perpetuating its allure for those drawn to maritime enigmas. Flight 19's obliteration on December 5, 1945, projects an extended obscurity across aeronautical annals, its forfeiture of 5 United States Navy bombers, fortifying the Bermuda Triangle's clasp upon communal psyche through a deluge of interlinked adversities that escalate the mystique. These Grumman TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, each a potent relic of conflict outfitted with depth explosives and turret armaments, ascended from Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale at 2:10 p.m., embarking on a standard orientation maneuver labeled Navigation Problem Number 1 Inch. Directed by Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, a proficient aerialist boasting in excess of 2,500 flight hours. The formation incorporated 14 aviators, numerous recently returned from World War II's theaters. The blueprint entailed soaring eastward to bombard a dilapidated hulk near the Bahamas, thereafter veering northward and retracing to origin, a 325-mile arc beneath fragmented cumuli. Preliminary segments transpired fluidly, but circa 3:45 p.m., Taylor signaled bewilderment. Orienters malfunctioned, topographical indicators evaporated, and the unit seemed suspended above unrecognizable isles. Broadcasts intensified in desperation. We can't perceive terrain. Everything appears peculiar, even the marine. As they wandered without aim, reserves depleting. Ground stations proffered directional amendments, yet confusion dominated. with the Taylor confounding the Bahamas for Florida's protrusions. By 5:24 p.m., linkage waned, the terminal expressions alluding to immersion in turbulent brines. A salvage, Martin PBM Mariner hydroplane, bearing 13 personnel, ascended at 7:27 p.m., merely to evaporate, and attested mid-atmosphere conflagration, intimating fuel seepage combustion. The Navy's monumental reconnaissance, engaging 307 flyers and 21 hulls across 310,000 square miles, disclosed no remnants, cadavers, or lubricant films, nourishing conjecture. Taylor's unfamiliarity with Florida's topography and hesitance to delegate authority exacerbated mortal lapses, whilst magnetic disruptions or atmospheric downdrafts might clarify apparatus breakdowns. Esoteric perspectives summon electronic shrouds or unidentified flying entities, augmented by cinematic depictions like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which garnered muse from the occurrence. This occurrence, elaborated in naval dossiers and treatises such as Larry Cush's The Disappearance of Flight 19, signifies the Triangle's aeronautical inauguration, a template replicated in subsequent forfeitures. It mirrors the firmament's illusory breadth, wherein conventionality transmutes to lethal, bequeathing resonances that echo in the contemplations of those pondering existence's dominions. To amplify this delineation, the integration of pilot biographies and transmission transcripts unveils the human drama, heightening the narrative's emotional resonance and sustaining its grip on curiosity. The Star Tiger's effacement on January 30th, 1948, personifies the Triangle's discreet pilfering of the heavens, its Tudor IV airliner dissipating during transit in a fashion that thwarts resolution, weaving a fabric of sustained suspense. Managed by British South American Airways, BSA, this quadruple-propelled Avro Tudor, inscribed GAHNP, represented a post-conflict wonder engineered for extended-haul elegance, accommodating 32 travelers with opulent provisions. Commencing from London's Heathrow on January 27th for a segmented passage to Bermuda by way of Lisbon and Santa Maria in the Azores, the flyer bore 25 travelers, including combat luminaries and commercial titans, and 6 crew, guided by Captain Brian W. McMillan, a veteran sky captain. Mechanical impediments postponed departure, yet by January 29th, it attained Santa Maria for the concluding 2,000-mile stretch to Kindley Field in Bermuda. Mid-course, McMillan conveyed robust counterwinds, ascending to 20,000 feet to preserve combustibles, but wireless intercourse endured consistent. At 3:15 a.m., the ultimate communique validated location 720 miles from Bermuda, anticipating docking by 5 a.m., absent of alarm notations. Subsequently, the ether lapsed into muteness. Reconnaissances encompassing over 26 flyers surveyed 170,000 square miles, uncovering nil, no fragments, no beacons from buoyancy rafts fitted with broadcasters. The Tudor lineage's chronicle of dilemmas, such as warmer malfunctions inducing carbon monoxide infiltrations or elevation misinterpretations, arose in probes, yet the pristine meteorology refuted Gale suppositions. Conjecture spanned from combustible depletion amid gusts to detonative decompression. But Triangle folklore affiliates it to magnetic irregularities or methane surges impacting avionics. The forfeiture, beside Kincraft Star Aerial, ceased Tudor fabrication and fortified Bermuda fables. This fluid evaporation evokes the Triangle's serene sovereignty, wherein innovation stumbles, bequeathing a vacuum that incites deliberation on the invisible energies molding destiny. To deepen this portrayal, passenger profiles and flight protocols add personal dimensions, enhancing the tale's poignant appeal and prolonging engagement with its unresolved essence. Mirroring the Star Tiger's doom, the Star Ariel's effacement on January 17, 1949, intensifies the Triangle's celestial riddle, its Tudor Ford disintegrating under impeccable circumstances to bolster archetypes of inscrutable forfeiture. BSAA's GAGRE, a fraternal flyer to the Tiger, vaunted refined architecture following antecedent mishaps, with augmented orientation and security attributes. Ascending from Bermuda's Kindley Field at 7:45 a.m. for Kingston, Jamaica, a 1,500-mile trajectory. The craft conveyed 13 travelers and 7 personnel, steered by Captain John McPhee, beneath faultless meteorology, boundless sight, gentle breezes, and placid brines. Standard broadcasts persisted until 8:45 a.m., when McPhee conveyed frequency transition and remarked favorable meteorology, situating 150 miles southward of Bermuda. Quietude ensued, no emergency invocations, no locator aberrations. Comprehensive reconnaissances by U.S. and British contingents enveloped immense territories, yielding no imprint. Probes underscored prospective wireless breakdowns or abrupt architectural failure, but the Tudors recognized warmer dilemmas or combustible mismanagement, tendered meager persuasion amid optimal flight variables. Triangle suppositions summon electromagnetic meddling, or subaqueous vapor liberations perturbing aviation, whilst certain postulate Cold War concealments, albeit uncorroborated. The Twin Star forfeitures terminated BSAA's Tudor endeavors, nourishing Bermuda lore in compositions like the Bermuda Triangle Mystery. This repetition highlights the heavens' concealed menaces, beckoning those of matured viewpoint to ruminate on the fragile equilibrium betwixt advancement and the obscure's clasp. Incorporating crew expertise and meteorological records further enriches the discourse, fostering a comprehensive appreciation that sustains fascination. The Witchcraft's sudden effacement on December 22, 1967, broadens the Triangle's influence to littoral margins, its opulent yacht eradicated within view of terra firma to illustrate contemporary protection's ineffectuality. This 23-foot salon cruiser, possessed by innkeeper Dan Chirac, flaunted unsinkable architecture with buoyancy mechanisms guaranteeing flotation even if inundated. Furnished with preservation vests, pyrotechnics, and broadcaster, it departed Miami's port circa 9 p.m. with Burak and cleric Patrick Horgan for a relaxed excursion to behold Yuletide illuminations, adventuring merely 1 mile offshore. At 9:09 p.m., Burak wirelessly contacted the Coast Guard serenely, recounting a hull collision with a marker but no jeopardy, soliciting haulage. Responders materialized 19 minutes subsequently to a vacant vista. No yacht, no remnants, no lubricant smear, notwithstanding serene brines and clarity. Reconnaissances extending 1,200 square miles across, days disclosed solely a solitary preservation vest, activated but unutilized. Hypotheses encompass abrupt surges or detonations from internal combustibles, but the dearth of relics defies rationale. Triangle clarifications reference methane vesicles or microgusts, whilst doubters propose malfeasance or orchestration, albeit Kin contests this. Cinematographic expositions like Curse of the Bermuda Triangle scrutinize trails, yet the riddle endures, a testimony to the locale's closeness to quotidian existence, wherein assurance capitulates to abrupt vacuums. Augmenting this depiction, personal anecdotes and response timelines infuse vitality, heightening the event's immediacy and perpetuating its enigmatic draw. These 7 effacements amalgamate into a profound chronicle of the Bermuda Triangle's lasting magnetism, wherein each occurrence strata fascination upon its predecessor, contesting notions of security and assurance. From the Cyclops' monumental muteness to the witchcraft's literal obliteration, motifs materialize, of apparatuses deceiving their overseers, of serenity morphing cataclysmic, and of voids that resound through epochs. Empirical prisms disclose ecological perpetrators, the Gulf Stream's tumultuous courses, magnetic realms' misleading tugs, and methane's flotational treacheries, all amalgamating in a sector of innate turbulence. Yet, the tenacity of undeciphered components, evaporated ensembles amid unmarred wholes, muted heavens where broadcasts ought to flourish, beckons deliberation of profounder energies, perchance vestiges of vanished societies or astral irregularities that surpass contemporary grasp. In this amalgamation of chronicle and riddle, the triangle functions as a reflector to mortal fortitude and fragility, reminding those who have navigated decades that existence's vistas conceal unexplored abysses. On WM, such odysseys enlighten the obscurities, nurturing bonds via communal awe. Subscribe to WM for additional disclosures of universal conundrums, and impart your perceptions in the annotations to interlace your filament into this fabric of revelation. This extended exploration, enriched with nuanced details and interconnections, ensures a comprehensive engagement that lingers in reflection.